Hello, I'm old Mr. Kent, and if you're wondering why I feel all boxed in, and I don't know if you know or not. Anyway, this is my where my wife and I live. It's a little bungalow that my son built for us. And if we swing around, let's swing around this direction over here, and you'll see there's a shipping container right there, and a Greyhound bus right there, and a shipping container right there. Fortunately, the sun's still over the top of those, and so I have a sunny day here. And there's more to talk about, so let's get started on this ride, and I'll explain things as we go. Now, out here straight ahead, there's another shipping container. As you can see. Where did these come from? All right, well, I'll tell you how it all came about. Years ago, before we ever moved to Arizona, my son and his wife had a couple that they were friends with, and really good friends, and spent a lot of time together and just enjoyed each other. And then they moved to Arizona, and then moved down here and lived a year or so. And then they invited Bruce to come down for a vacation to see what it was, how Arizona was. So my son Bruce, he came down to visit in April, which is a good time of year to visit Arizona. Get my mirror fixed right here. It's a good time to visit Arizona, so he liked it really well, and so they decided they would move down here. In the meantime, this friend of his had moved down here and started a motorcycle business and was doing quite well, and so that's what he still does, plus other things. But Bruce moved down here, found several jobs, finally got settled in doing his own business with an automotive shop, repair shop. So anyway, then they decided to cooperate, collaborate, and put everything together that they do. And so his friend is moving into a smaller house from the large piece of property that he had these containers sitting on, and so there's no room for them, so they're moving them over here. But he's also got some other things that he can put here that will be beneficial to my son. So that's what that's all about, is the containers are going to be there probably till the day I die, but that's okay. The rent is free, and I have my son to spend time with. Okay, so let's go around the corner here. I understand there was a big wreck up here. Gotta wait for the traffic. I don't know if we'll get to it by the time I finish my story. Anyway, there was a big wreck up here this morning. My son was taking our grandson to school. So anyway, back to the plan for the day. In my last video that I put up, I mentioned just briefly that I had been kicked out of Boy Scouts. A nice guy like me kicked out of Boy Scouts. And he wanted to know, one of the viewers wanted to know about that story. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? Not really. So, first of all, let's go all the way back before Boy Scouts and when I was in Cub Scouts. One of the things that the grade school that I went to, this was back in the days when they had safety patrol. In other words, like in the 6th grade, you could be on the safety patrol. You got out of class 5 minutes early, and you'd go get your flag, and you'd stand at a corner of a fairly busy street. And then when the students wanted to cross, you'd hold them until it was there was no traffic coming. This is my morning ride. And all those cars aren't friends of mine. I just wave at them. They're bypassing construction by taking this route, which was why there was a wreck earlier this morning. So anyway, that was my job as safety patrol. And wasn't any pay for it, but it was just something. I don't know why I wanted to do that back then, but I did. So I'm on a safety. I'm standing on the corner with my flag. I guess it must have been at the end of the school day, and so I'm standing there waiting for kids to show up. Now there was a Catholic school a few blocks away from the public school where I went. And I don't understand why, but anyway, there was all, the Catholic kids and the public school kids. They were always at odds. In fact, I had one guy. I was walking home with my sister from school, and he wanted to fight, and I didn't want to fight. But anyway, so we had this little fight. He beat me up, and then I decided after that from then on, I'm not going to just let him beat me up. I'm going to pound on him. So that's a true story. Okay. So anyway, so I'm standing there with my flag, and there was a little bit of an incline to the street, and a kid from the Catholic school. Remember, now they had that day off, and for some reason the public school didn't. I don't know why. And so he was right coming along on that little incline. Here comes some more cars. And he was coming, and he had one of those, if you remember when, well, they still have them, I suppose, but it was kind of like a ping pong paddle with a rubber ball fastened to it with a rubber band, and you could hit it, and it would go out the end and come back, and you could bounce it back and forth. I never got too good at it, but this kid was coasting along, just like I'm riding my trike here. He was coasting along and bouncing it, and flipping it and coming down that little incline. I'll be glad when construction's finished. There won't be near as much traffic. I know. Well, I'm not going to stop and pet you this morning, so too bad. So anyway, he's coming along, and he's a little smart aleck type attitude, and he says, he's bouncing that thing, and he says, "Ha ha, we didn't have any school today," as he went by me while I was standing there with my flag. And the only thing is he was looking at me instead of looking down the road. And there was this, I think it was like about a 1946 Ford parked just beyond me where I was standing, and he was going like this and looking at me and saying ha 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 ha. And he just ran smack dab into the back of that Ford with his bicycle. Okay, and so when the bicycle hit, well, then it went like this, and it threw him up on, almost up on top of the roof, and then he came sliding back down again. And I don't remember all the details, but he didn't look at me and say anything. And I don't remember if he ruined his bike, but he just kept on going down the road one way or another. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. Then when I got into junior high, I was on the safety patrol again. And what's this got to do with getting kicked out of Boy Scouts? I'll tell you in a minute. May not have anything to do with it. Anyway, I just wanted to do right, so I got on the safety patrol. And on that particular day that I'm going to talk about, I was on at lunchtime to prevent kids from going off the school ground from that side, because the school was at the other end of the area, and a big playground, and then it came to the road there where I was standing, and they're not supposed to go past that road. And so I'm standing there and holding my flag, and this kid comes up, and he's acting like he's just going to walk across the street. And I said, I can't let you go. Do you have a note? And he says, no, I don't have a note. I turned it in at the office. And I said, oh, no, you got to have a note before you can cross the street. An excuse note. And he said, I don't have it because I turned it in at the office. I said, I don't care. I have to see the excuse. You can't go across the street. And so he says, I'm going across the street. And so he starts across the street. So I lay my flag down, and I get on the other side of the street. We cross the street, and I take him and I tackle him. Now I'm a fighter. And I tackle him, I get him down, I say, you're not going anywhere. And he says, yes, I am. And he's wrestling with me. I finally got him pinned down with my knees on him. Well, I didn't have my knees on his elbows anyway. I had him pinned down, and then I said, now we're going back to the school. He says, no, I'm not. And he head-butted me. I wasn't expecting that. Never had that happen before or since. Anyway, so he head-butted me, and that kind of knocked me kind of to the side. So he crawled up on me, took off running, and got away. And so then when lunch was over, I went down, and here comes some more people avoiding the wreck. And so I went down and I told the office what happened, and they said, no, he had an excuse. He turned it in here. And so anyway, that was the only time I really got in a fight being a safety patrol. Okay, so now I'm still in junior high, and I had been in Cub Scouts and gone through. When I joined Cub Scouts, my folks they bought everything. They bought the outfit and the book that went with it. We went downtown Seattle and just bought all the stuff that goes with being a Boy Scout or Cub Scout. And so I went through Cub Scouts, and then that was in grade school. And then yeah, I'm sorry this makes the video longer, but anyway. So when I got into junior high, then I graduated to Boy Scouts. And once again, my folks took me downtown, bought everything. I mean, the outfit, all the stuff that you need. In fact, I probably still have the Boy Scout manual, which is what I used to practice my Morse code when I got my amateur radio license. So anyway, so I had all this. In fact, they bought me a hatchet, a Boy Scout hatchet, and I remember I slept with it the first night. Yeah. So anyway, we had this scoutmaster who was a super guy, and he was just fresh out of the Army. And so he was like, he could identify with teenage kids. And so just a great guy. And he would take us camping. He had a little piece of property somewhere up around Concrete, Washington, if you're familiar with Washington. That's on the west side up north of Seattle. And it was in the woods. And so he'd take us up there, and he had a big, like a 10-man tent or something like that, and he didn't have a floor, but he'd set it up, and then it rained a lot over there, so we learned how to start fires in the rain, how to survive, and And then we had our meeting every week, and it got to be where he'd take us camping. Seemed like every other week, but I don't think it was that often. But anyway, the parents got tired of us being gone, because every kid wants to go camping. So the parents got tired of us being gone so much. My parents didn't, but so they started complaining to the Boy Scout people, and so they told him he wasn't going to be the Boy Scout leader, and they got a new guy. Only he wasn't new; he was old. He was probably a retired military guy, and we didn't go camping anymore. And what we did every time we had a meeting, he would just teach us how to march. He would also work on he would also help us work on getting the badges we wanted to get, stuff like that. So it was okay, but it was getting pretty boring. Well, this one day, I had gone shopping, and my folks had bought me a brand new pair of tennis shoes. And I went to the meeting, and apparently they had waxed the floor. And so if I scuffed my feet a little bit, then it made a sound. Just put it that way. It was a disturbing sound. So anyway, when it was time for us to do our practice, our marching, attention, right face, forward march, halt, left face, forward march, about face, all this stuff. So we were doing that, and every time I would, because he taught us how to make our feet go like, you'd go, and then just like you're supposed to be in the Army. And so every time I would do that, my tennis shoes would make, almost every time, would make that awful sound, And so the guys, they were snickering, and I thought, yeah, no, this is kind of fun. That's what I was thinking. And so, anyway, the scoutmaster, the old guy, he was getting real tired of everybody snickering, but he couldn't figure out who was making the sound with their feet. And so he said, who's doing that? And nobody said anything and all that. So pretty soon he figured out it was me. And he also figured out I was doing it mostly deliberately to bug him, which I shouldn't have been doing. But anyway, that's what I was doing. Excuse me. So he said, Kent, why don't you just leave? And so I left, and I decided at that point, I don't think I want to come back. So when I say I got kicked out of Boy Scouts, I really did get kicked out that night. I could have gone back, but I thought, this isn't any fun. So anyway, so that's the story of why I got kicked out of Boy Scouts. I was just trying to be a good guy and be a scout and all that kind of stuff. So, pardon me. So anyway, that's today's story. I want to thank, oh, by the way, we've been having some bad weather, and today's a perfect day. It's in the 80s this morning, and so it's a perfect day to make a video. So anyway, while there's not too much noise, I want to tell you thank you for watching my videos, and God bless.